What is it about some protagonists that make them great? Is it their leadership qualities? Their overpowering strength? Or maybe something a lot simpler than that? What makes others enjoy fighting alongside them? Well, in today's video, we'll be covering the first arc in the Demon Slayer series, and where I think Tanjiro's greatest strength lies. Demon Slayer starts off with the introduction to a young man called Tanjiro, surrounded by his family in the snowy mountains. He gets asked to go to the village and sell some charcoal, but unbeknownst to him, this very small event is what triggers a series of unfortunate developments in his life. Tanjiro decides to go along with his mother's wishes and walks down to the village. On the way, we get to see Tanjiro's personality, his apparent strong sense of smell, and how other people treat him. They're all very kind and appreciative of him, just as he is to them. Make sure to keep this part in mind while I continue. After having concluded with his village trip, he heads back to his home, where on the way an old man, who shortly after is revealed to have lost his family, introduces the most important concept to the series, the presence of demons, and the force that protects people from them, the Demon Slayer Corps. The old man offers Tanjiro to stay for the night for his own safety. I do have to ask though, was this man involved with the Demon Slayer Corps at some point? Seems to have quite a bit of knowledge about the subject, which isn't all too common, but I digress. Have you noticed a pattern so far? Don't worry, I'll get to it soon. Tanjiro wakes up the next morning and heads back on his way to his home, where without his knowledge, tragedy had struck the night prior. His family had been slaughtered inside their home, with his sister Nezuko being the only survivor. As she still has a pulse, Tanjiro's only thought is to get her to safety, but this is when Nezuko's transformation into a demon commences. He fights for his life while also contemplating the events that had transpired, until a man who we later get to know as Giyu swoops in and takes Nezuko away from him, shifting the tides of the battle. Following a back and forth, Giyu starts understanding Tanjiro's situation and tests him by calling out his lack of resolve, which I'd presume are words meant for himself as well, but we'll get into that in a later video. Giyu comes to accept Tanjiro's resolve, while also observing his sister's protective nature even after being transformed into a demon, and directs him to Sakonji, a cultivator for up-and-coming Demon Slayer Corps members. I'm sure you've already noticed by now, right? What Tanjiro's greatest strength is? Well, it's not his abilities, his techniques, nor his sword, which he later obtains. It's Tanjiro's kindness, his empathy. Do you remember that old man we saw earlier? Is it not because of Tanjiro's kindness that the old man even offered him to stay, to sleep for the rest of the night? Is it not because of Tanjiro's kindness that many of the main cast members that we get introduced to later in the story help him out as he had done to them? Is it not because of his kindness that he is able to attain the strength needed to develop into the person he turns out to be? Need I continue further? Fine. There's one last example that I would like to show, but to do that, we need to jump right back into the story. Tanjiro and Nezuko meet Sakonji during that same day in an encounter with their first wild demon. Sakonji decides to take Tanjiro under his wing at the request of Giyu and train him for the upcoming final selection test, where it is through this test that he can enter the Demon Slayer Corps and hopefully turn his sister back into a human. But before doing so, he tests his resolve on what he would do if his sister were to eat a human. Days pass by. Themes such as breathing techniques to power up physical attributes, the lack of government approval towards the Demon Slayer Corps, and the special blades to be able to slay demons get introduced but aren't applied immediately by Tanjiro. The last test in his training is to split open a huge boulder, where he gets assisted by two characters, Sabato and Makamo. A year goes by and a lot of his bad habits are corrected, which prompts Sabato to battle Tanjiro. Through the culmination of all of his hard work, Tanjiro slices through Sabato's mask, and to his surprise, the huge boulder ends up sliced open instead. As a bonus to clearing the test, Sakonji hands Tanjiro a mask, for disaster prevention, which he gives to each of his students and wishes Tanjiro a safe journey. When arriving at the final selection, the test coordinators explain that in order to pass, the examinees must survive a full week on the mountain they're on. While this may not seem like such a problem for Tanjiro, after his hellish training, the string of destiny joining those who trained him, and the test he's undertaken manifests. As fate would have it, a demon captured by Sakonji resides on this testing ground, having eaten dozens of his previous students, including both Sabito and Makamo, in an act of vengeance. Ironic name choice for that mask from earlier. Tanjiro comes across his demon not long after the test begins, saving an examinee from getting killed. He struggles with fighting at first, but through his own senses is able to slice through the demon's thick neck, just like with the huge boulder from before. While this demon starts disappearing, we get to see one of my favorite parts about this demon, and the human elements which they've forgotten over time. Tanjiro extends his hand in a show of empathy towards the demon, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is just who Tanjiro Kamado is. These acts of kindness towards even total strangers is what makes Tanjiro so admirable and respected from all of his peers, and is why I believe that Tanjiro's greatest strength lies not in his abilities, but in who he is as a human being. But since we're here already, let me wrap up the rest of the arc. With this ant demon being defeated, the spirits of all of Sakonji's students are properly moved on, and Tanjiro is set to complete the test. Once the 7-day period ends, each of the remaining swordsmen, including Zenitsu, Tanao, and Genya, are each given crows that relay information to them, and alloys for swords that will assist them in slaying demons. Here we're introduced to Genya's aggressive personality when he grabs one of the test organizers by their hair. But Tanjiro, in usual Tanjiro fashion, diffuses the situation and heads back to the training grounds. When arriving, he is greeted by Nezuko, who appears to have awoken from her long slumber and recovered from the previous demon battle, and Sakonji, who welcomes Tanjiro back with open arms. Roughly 2 weeks later, Hagane Duka, the swordsmith, presents Tanjiro with a Nichiren blade that changes color based on their owner, which promptly turns black. And that's when Tanjiro gets called by his new crow companion to head northwest for his first mission. Alright, really enjoyed the making of this particular video, especially like the editing process. That was pretty neat. Like how it turned out. Might do more in the future, we'll see. Definitely thinking of possibly doing one on Goblin Slayer, we'll see. I'm enjoying it so far. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.